Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So I'm gonna throw out a personal question right now. Is there something that happened in your life that's holding you back? Maybe it's some kind of trauma, maybe dealing with some kind of grief. Maybe you haven't identified exactly what it is, but you know that you're not moving forward. You know where you want to be, but you're not there. How can I speak of that? Because been there, done it, figured it out, still working on it. We're all on a journey, right? She's somebody that can help you move that forward and offers lots of different things, including Reiki. Sue Williams joins us on the program. Hi, Sue. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, Reiki, would you say, is that your number one modality that you help people with?
No. It helps me do what I do with Radiant Heart Healing. So
Yeah.
I like it and it's useful and I do use it. It came second. Does that make sense to the Radiant Heart Healing?
Well, I believe it's all about energy, and that's Reiki can be that one other thing that helps you connect with people energetically. But Radiant Heart Healing is something that can help us with being stuck with grief or trauma, no matter what it might. What are some of the examples of that?
Grief is a huge one. If you've lost a loved one, there's so many things that can happen. Miscarriage, abortion, loss of job, loss of a relationship, car wrecks. Our military suffer emotional trauma all the time, and we store that in the cells of our bodies. And it's hard to release that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk to a therapist. I think that's great too, but there's something to be said for releasing that energy that we hold in ourselves.
As I've learned, and I call it the emotional bucket, and it's right here, and you emotionally, your body can only fill it up with so much until it overflows, and then you got a problem. And a lot of times we just keep adding to it, but we're not taking away from it. How does Radiant Heart Healing work? Is it a form of hypnosis? How do you help people with those traumas?
It's basically energy work, which is why I explored the Reiki to help me magnify that. It's a process where I talk with a person to see if we can find out the trauma that's most pressing on their hearts, because we carry a lot of things.
Yep.
And then I use that energy to help them find that trauma in their bodies and give it a color, and then help them clear that energy using this universal energy that's all around us, right? You can call it whatever you want to. Universal energy, God, the source, divine, but it's all around us. And that energy, I can pull that energy in and send it to that person to help them magnify their own energy and help clear that trauma from their cells, and then replace it with light and love from God, the divine, the source, that energy that's all around us. And that's really simple, but it takes a lot longer than that, but that's basically how this works.
And I'm big on energy, and I find it fascinating. How do you energetically help somebody heal from, let's say, the loss of a loved one?
I would ask them to tell me first about that loved one. Let me tell you my story about this. Would that be good?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I went to Sedona and met this amazing woman. And I knew that the death of my father at 14 really had an impact on my life. Just couldn't get it cleared out. And we talked, and what she discovered was that I had a death wish. I really wanted to go and be with him. That was part of the grief that still held on to. And so she helped me find that place in my body where I felt that grief. And then the other part of Radiant Heart Healing is, once we fill a body with light and love and energy in those cells, then I can take them up on it can be a cloud. I've had people say they wanted to go up on a feather bed. I don't care as long as they're comfortable, right? But we go up as high as we can possibly go, to where all they see is just maybe stars or blank or sky. And then I ask them to ask someone to come and meet them. And my dad came and met me there. And he was leaning up against the side of a building like he always did. And he said, "You got to cut this out. No, it's not your time. And you have so much more to do." And, I was able to have this conversation with him and feel his presence. And then, of course, we bring them back down. The reason I know it worked is because I hated driving on mountain roads, right? Because I always have this urge to drive off. It
Wow.
would be so easy, right? So I went back to Sedona, and I had to take my rental car up the road, up this mountainous road. And I dreaded it, but I started up that mountain and that urge was not there. It was not there anymore. I was able to enjoy the drive. I enjoyed the drive up. I enjoyed the drive back. And it felt so good. And those are the kind of results that I have seen happen with my own patients. I've done a lot of work with miscarriage and abortion. And, I'm not saying abortion shouldn't be a choice, but in making it a choice, we've sort of swept all the aftermath of that under the rug. And women are just supposed to be okay, right? But often they're not. Even though they would make the choice again, they're still not. So to heal that pain and to heal the pain of miscarriage, it's an amazing, amazing thing to watch people be able to start to heal from those kinds of things, as well as the grief and the loss of a loved one.
So Sue, when you mentioned the trip to Sedona and the images of seeing your dad, now, did you say he passed at 14?
He passed when I was 14, and you can tell by looking at me, I'm older.
My dad passed when I was 21. I got hypnotized in the last 3 months, because I know I wanted to go back to my childhood. Didn't confront when he passed. Probably should dig into that, because there's probably something there. But I'm curious, when you saw the images of him on the side of the building, were you with the practitioner in Sedona?
Yes.
And what was it like? What was she doing? Like I mentioned hypnosis. What were you doing? What was she doing?
It's energy. It's, I can feel it in my hands right now. It's that energy that she is able to unite with mine, that comes from that energy that's around us. And together we were able to make that happen. Now he's come back since then. This has been an amazing journey. What this energy has opened up for me. But it is the energy. That's what it is.
Oh, I got you. And for those who believe in psychics and those who can communicate with the other side, and I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah, of course, I'm a skeptic like anybody else, but I've witnessed it time and again from top psychics. It's the real deal. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's nothing going on there. They have some kind of ability to channel that, again, energy back from the other side. So it stands to reason that that was done for you in some capacity, where your father's energy was here, and then that energy showed up again at some point.
Exactly. And it's so healing. And other people that I have worked with in grief, if they can meet, even if it's not the loved one that died, if they can meet another loved one that can assure them that their loved one is safe. And, it is amazing, the healing that takes place.
Would you say, in what you do, would you say that you have some intuitive ability?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I would think so. If you're able to harness that energy and make it happen for somebody. Does it surprise you sometimes when these things happen?
It does. And, I've only been claiming these kind of gifts for the last 7 years. So yes, it still surprises me. And sometimes yes, and I just keep poking at it, to make sure that it's real.
Mhm.
So yeah, it does.
Yeah, when I was hypnotized, and it just a different modality accomplishing somewhat of the same
Mhm.
thing, but yours sounds maybe even easier than hypnosis. I don't know.
I don't know. I think they
Wow.
kind of run along parallel lines because
Yeah,
you have to trust that your hypnotist energy to be able to do that.
absolutely. But I felt like I was back there and I was hugging myself as a child.
Mhm.
And how is that happening? All right, tapping into the subconscious, but there's an exchange of energy going on there. And even messages from my dad. And it wasn't, I'm not just pulling them out from anywhere. I believe they were there as you believe he was there, to give you the nudge to kind of move your life forward.
Right.
Do you find a lot of times, Sue, when you work with someone that they don't know what's going on? They don't know why they're stuck. They don't know where they need to go.
They don't have a clue. And that's why it's so important that I can talk with them. I need 30, 45 minutes just to figure out, because oftentimes it's something that they just let slip, right? That they didn't come with that, but all of a sudden now we know that this is what we need to work on. So it's my intuition and my ability to pull that energy in and fill the room with it, as well as angels and guardians and guides fill the room, and together we figure out with this person what's going on.
It's almost like it's almost like you're Sue CSI. You're an
A
investigator.
little bit, a
Yeah.
little bit. But I found that even that working in the hospitals, it takes a while to pull it out, and pull it out's not a really good word, but to help people be able to articulate the pain, because it's so hard. Emotional pain, we just really don't want to talk about it.
No, no, I call it the file cabinet. You throw it in the file cabinet, you close the door, you don't have to deal with it until you have to deal with it,
That's
uh,
right.
until you realize that the file cabinet is in the way of what
Yes.
you want to do in your life. Now, you mentioned hospital. You have a hospital medical background?
I am a board certified chaplain, and I served in major trauma centers. And that means I have 4 units of clinical pastoral education past my theological education that got me ordained so that I could be a chaplain.
Wow.
And then jump through the hoops to be board certified. But yes,
Hmm.
it's important, and it's just served me well in so many parts of my life. I'm so glad I did it.
How interesting that this is what you do now to help people deal with trauma with radiant heart healing is almost an extension of where you were as a chaplain at the hospital. Let's just visualize what we deal with, what you deal with in that capacity, and how heavy it is on everybody's heart at that time, what's going on. But here you're on the other side you
Mhm.
are helping people move past a lot of that.
It is, and I think seeing what I saw in the hospital, because you see a lot. Some of it I can't unsee, but you see a lot of pain
Yeah.
and suffering, and there's nothing. The institutional church doesn't offer a great deal in the way of emotional healing. And so this has become my calling, to help people alleviate that suffering. And can I do it in one session or a heartbeat? No, I can't. But if people will start and they see the progress, it's amazing. It's just, the results are amazing.
Hmm.
I love it. I could do it 10 hours a day and not be tired.
So how many sessions would it you think it would take? Everybody's different, but what would it, let's say somebody suffered a loss. How many sessions you think it would be to help them heal from that?
The people I've worked with, the most I've spent with somebody is 4. And that's really because they had issues other than, right? Other than this grief over this particular loss. Often I find that even one session will put people's feet on the ground that they need to find to deal with this loss, to have the strength and the courage to do that.
And it's amazing how many different shapes and forms the challenges are. You know, you maybe suffered the loss of a loved one, and a year later you have stress, you have anxiety, and you don't know why, but you kind of know why. It's probably connected to that, but you don't know how to move forward.
That's right. And I think in this country, we've kind of been taught to be tough, right? At least my generation, you kind of pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get on with it, right?
And when you were a kid, what did your parents always say to you? Stop crying. Why are you crying? It's all right.
Get over it.
Get over it.
But it's not true. That's just not true. And you're right. When we do that, we just stuff it all away somewhere until it just kind of it will rear its ugly head in some way. Stress, anxiety, illness, a lot of things.
Yeah. And you'll be reminded along the way because you get stuck and you can't do whatever you want to do because this thing is, and it's natural. There's nothing wrong with it, but sometimes you need to move forward. I wonder back in the day, 200 years ago, what do they do? Was it energy healing back then to move past these things? I always wondered.
Well, I think, there's always been people with gifts that we have found strange, right? A lot of them we burned or hung, or we just got rid of them. But there's always been people that folks went to for healing. And I think we're just beginning now for it to be more accepted.
I agree. I totally agree. And it's almost mind-boggling in 2022 that we haven't figured out that there's a thing called energy and there's things called Reiki and radiant heart healing it's almost because we've been programmed to the medical community. Go to the doctor. He is the doctor. He's going to prescribe something. You will be better. And that's it. Instead of looking at some of the other things available, because a lot of us think it's like woo-woo, but until you figure it out.
But major hospitals are using Reiki.
Yes.
As an add-on to medical treatment. I mean, I would never say Reiki could do what medical treatment could do, but it's an add-on. It's that energy that helps our bodies take the medicine, I guess, or take the treatments and do better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to your point, Sue, I've even heard that some hospitals do Reiki for the surgeons before, just so they're on point, cleared, ready to go. The biggest challenge here is many hospitals avoid it because you're letting somebody else like yourself, a practitioner, in the surgery suite. Now we multiply the liability. Now we're talking about insurance and blah, 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 blah. And then now we're back to square one.
But it'll change just as it changed with chaplaincy in hospitals. That was an uphill battle to get a chaplain into the trauma centers and the trauma room and the ER. And now they wouldn't do without them. It's totally, they want the chaplain there. Call the chaplain.
I was just going to say, call a chaplain. It's like, one of the first people at that moment.
Yeah. And it's amazing when I would walk in the room. And of course, I do know that I've always sort of spread energy, right? Intuitively, but to feel that tension come down in the room. And that's what they want. They just want a presence that will lower the anxiety in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. And that comes from energy, and your energy is, you have such a positive vibe and good energy and a passion. And I'm sure, in your career, that's felt when you walk in the room.
I think it was. I hope so. I think I saw it. You always wonder, because I grew up thinking that I was not normal. And so, it hangs on with you. Is this really true? Is this right? And I'm coming into my own now, where I know, yeah, it is.
Mm.
It's absolutely true.
How interesting that you do what you do, but you considered not being here because of the passing of your father.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Mhm. But the interesting thing in my life is I don't ever remember not being surrounded by angels and guides and, guardians. I don't think I could put a name to them, but they were there. And I never felt alone enough to take that final step. So
Mm.
I've always been connected, and I want other people to have that deep connection to this energy, because it's an amazing connection if we can find it, and we can.
I'm fascinated by that in terms of angels and the presence of some. What did you feel? What do you sense? What do you see, taste,
Well,
smell? What's it like?
right now, I've asked them all to be here, and Mother Mary is here, and I feel a lot of times, mostly their presence. I do sometimes catch glimpses. I am really likely to catch a glimpse of the Archangel Michael, because he's always been with me. I know that if you could see that my dad is leaning against the door frame back here with me, I can see him. They fill up the room. They just fill up the room, and the Hathor angels come, and they are so golden that the golden light fills the room. So that's what I see and feel and know when they're near.
So I've heard a couple of things recently. Number one, it's okay to ask for help. Ask for a sign. You should.
You
And number
should.
two, very important, show gratitude toward them.
Oh, gratitude. If you can raise your emotions, your gratitude, joy, love, and peace, if you can make those emotions rise up, and not joy like I'm happy that I'm going to get off work in a little bit, right? But the joy that comes from deep inside that you can't negate, and gratitude that just fills your heart. That's where you need to have your vibration level in order to find the energy. That's
You know something, Sue, in reality, that would be fantastic, but a lot of us can't do that.
no, but we can learn to, and that's what healers like me are out in this world to teach.
That's where I was going with that, because we're stuck sometimes, and we can only get so far because there's some kind of a blockage from grief, trauma, hurtful situation, whatever it might be. But until we figure that out and move past that, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a friend who is dealing with something, and everything you're saying is like, I'm going to pass it on to them.
I hope you do. I hope you do.
And I've suggested hypnosis before, and they're open to it, and others have said that as well. But this is what you're saying, what they need. It definitely.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work, they can try hypnosis. I don't do well with hypnosis because I just resist so. And so this was much easier for me to become a part of, because I can feel the energy. And most people can sense good energy. I mean, we're better at sensing bad energy, I think, but we can sense good energy.
It's so true. It's like you walk in a room at a party, and you just got this vibe, like this is a good time because of the energy in the room. And the opposite of that, if you walk in, it's just like, I'm going to leave pretty soon because collectively there's probably some negative energy going on there that you don't want to be part of. What's the best way for somebody to reach you if they want to learn more and then eventually book a session with you?
They can text me or call me, and the phone number is 417-812-1089. Or they can go to my website. My website's a work in progress. They can also text me, but my website is Reikiota, REIKIOTA.com. And they can find me there. So
Yeah.
those are the two best ways. Call me or text me. If I don't answer the phone, I promise I'll get back to you. I've been doing those kind of things all my life. And so I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad there's people like you that have that
Okay.
passion for helping. And your story was just fascinating in itself because it's proof that it worked, and how interesting that then you decided to help other people the same exact way.
Yeah. It's my calling now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We all find our purpose in life, and without it, there's no doubt that you found it. But you were already doing it, and you know that in the
I
hospital.
do. I just am now doing it intentionally.
Yeah.
I love it.
Sue, it was great talking with you.
Thank you. Great talking with you.
Me too. Learned so much, and never even knew Radiant Heart Healing exists. So definitely spread the word and reach out. Phone number again, do I have it right? 417-812-1089.
That's it.
All right. We'll catch up again sometime soon. Thanks a lot, Sue.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.